Let's pretend that I'm a Republican. Let's pretend I'm a 1% Republican who makes a lot of their money by making exchanges and trades on the stock market. Let's also pretend that I'm well educated, I'm economically intelligent, and that I'm actually part of the 48% of Republicans who do not identify as MAGA. Why would I be optimistic right now about everything that's happening? Well, I have a theory on this. At this point, we can come to an educated conclusion that a majority of the loudest MAGA members don't actually care about what's happening because they don't have retirement savings and they don't invest in the stock market and they don't really fundamentally understand macroeconomics. The only thing they do understand is a Truth Social post where Trump says we are being unfairly treated. They understand no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security. And maybe they understand the elimination of federal income taxes, even though they don't understand the consequences of that. The best example I can give of this is think about the last time you got an email from a brand that you love and it was advertising a sale. They will put the font and size of that font of the sale really, really large, and then there is a teeny tiny little thing that says exclusions apply. MAGA Republicans don't really look at the exclusions. They just look at the giant big block letters. So why would an economically intelligent 1%er Republican be excited about this? And it is not, in my mind, shorting the stock market or buying the dip. It's actually international investment. The fact is that American companies who currently rely on international manufacturing have the hardest pathway to be able to build domestic manufacturing in the United States. We've now seen dozens of videos of people talking about this because there's no American manufacturing that makes machinery, that makes materials, that makes textiles, that makes light bulbs. All of these things are required to be able to build a factory, and there's no domestic manufacturer that makes those things. But you know who does manufacture those resources? Other countries. If a US company wanted to make a manufacturing facility without relying on international imports, they'd effectively have a giant warehouse that's just empty. But it's very possible and is actually very feasible for an international company to do this right now. Let me explain. Let's talk about washing machines, which I've talked about in the past. The only American-made washing machine right now is a company called Speed Queen in Wisconsin. Speed Queen represents the biggest issue and challenge with domestic manufacturing right now because even though they make a very, very quality product, they get outstanding reviews on their websites, they still charge as their cheapest washer-dryer stacked washing machine as $2,700. Now compare that to an LG stacked washer dryer that you could buy in Best Buy, and that is $1,700. It's $1,000 cheaper. And you might be thinking, well, LG is a Korean company, so they're definitely going to be impacted by these tariffs. Not so fast. LG actually produces a majority of their washing machines that they sell in the US already. I'm going to circle back to LG a little bit later, and I'm going to talk now about the actual tariffs. South Korea was hit with a 25% reciprocal tariff. But we can kind of see now that a lot of these tariffs are just the first offer. They're just done as a gut punch to other countries to get their attention. And we can see countries starting to pull back their US tariffs, and then Trump will give them maybe a lighter version of the original tariff. Let's say that South Korea negotiates with the United States and with Trump, and they reduce the amount of their import tariffs on US products, and as a result of that, Trump reduces their tariffs to, let's say, 15% instead of 25%. It could happen. It's probably actually the point of all of this. So let's get back to LG and washing machines. LG already manufactures washing machines in Clarksville, Tennessee, so they already are a step ahead of everybody else who is dealing with these tariffs right now. This factory has already been in operations, so the only thing LG is going to have to worry about is the 15% tariff on the parts and materials needed to actually make the washing machine. Now, it's estimated that parts comprise about 50% of the cost of manufacturing for a washing machine. Using simple math, we can assume that a $1,700 washing machine probably costs about $425 for LG to produce. They then sell that washing machine to Best Buy for something around $850 to $900, and then Best Buy marks it up to $1,700. That's how wholesale works. If the 15% tariffs that get enacted on the parts that LG has to import in order to make the washing machines goes into effect, the cost of manufacturing is now about $460, but I can easily see LG just raising the price to $500 instead of from $425 to $460. And then they would charge Best Buy $1,000 for that washing machine instead of $900 previously. Now, Best Buy also will do exactly what every retailer did in 2021, which was raise the cost of goods and blame it on the pandemic. So let's say they now charge $1,900 for that washing machine that they originally charged $1,700 for. A $200 increase is definitely substantial, but it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things, and it's still way cheaper than the $2,700 washing machine from Speed Queen. So you might be asking yourself, what's the problem then? Here's the problem. In 2023, the Clarksville, Tennessee LG manufacturing facility was recognized by the World Economic Forum, and they were given a very, very prestigious designation, which was they were known as a lighthouse factory. You might be asking yourself, what is a lighthouse factory? A lighthouse factory is a designation given by the World Economic Forum to recognize manufacturing that uses automation, AI, and robots. LG in Clarksville, Tennessee manufactures approximately 1.8 million washers and dryers per year using AI, automation, robots. Speed Queen uses people. One of the biggest narratives that exists in the MAGA side of TikTok is that Asian countries use child labor. No, sweetie, we don't. We use robots and AI. Asian technology is so vastly far ahead of American technology that certain companies are actually banned from the United States because they would bankrupt American companies. BYD is an EV company in China that would bankrupt Tesla because BYD technology in their cars is so vastly far ahead of Tesla. Donald Trump is effectively creating a welcome mat to welcome Asian companies who rely on automations and robots to manufacture to the United States right now. And they're going to do it with less labor, and they're going to get a ton of H-1B visas, just like Tesla does, to be able to fill specialty roles. And the reason why they are building them in states like Tennessee, Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina is because those states offer $7.25 minimum wage. It's almost comical to see so many MAGA Republicans on the other side of TikTok celebrating all the jobs that this is going to create and all of the international companies that are coming in when they don't understand that these companies are actually just going to bankrupt the actual American companies here. And this circles me back to the original point of this video. The reason why a 1% economically intelligent Republican might be excited about this is because they're going to invest in companies like LG.